disruption we think is not going to happen to us. But disruption is nobody's relative.
The next 10 years will see 99% of the disruption. This reality must dawn upon us.
So the organization design has to be very flexible to adapt to requirement of business.
Whatever activity we picked up in our life to do, we have to be agile.
AQ being adaptability. And the new currency is unlearning. But not evolving is the most dangerous thing today.
The agile thing is saying that the CHR of the company is elevated to the position along with the CEO and the CFO.
Can do an HR chief role sitting in your cabin.
Every CEO is the first chief of HR.
Yeah, the definition of HR should actually be like this, is to maximize human performance closer to the unlimited potential of humans.
It's not at the end of the day. From the first moment, it's people and people and people.
Disruption is very good friends with the crazies. The crazies are the millennials.
Young people, what they want is some adventure. I said, you don't get these people, you got to make them. Why is there something called as work and life? This is because essentially most human beings are suffering their work. Somewhere else they will enjoy. It's out of this, thank God Friday has come. Our schools are 7 days, our yoga center is 7 days, we are all 7-day people because we're doing what we love to do. This is what we would do no matter where we go. So, where is the question of taking a break from that? For this, the people who lead have to set that example, set that atmosphere, set that level of inspiration, above all, set an atmosphere of love and joy.
What I see in Google here is that the founders and the leaders are in front of Googlers every single week in flesh and blood, talking to them about the problems of the company or the strategy of the company. When I joined Infosys, I'd seen Mr. Murthy stand with us in the queue for lunch. I'd seen him pick up a trash and go dump it himself. One of my personal favorites is a study that happened which is called Project Oxygen, which helped us understand what a great manager in Google could look like. The manager cannot hire or fire by themselves, they play facilitators. Two is we don't even approve leaves or vacations. There's a system of trust and systems which kind of take care of that. But a role of a manager in Google is something that's really tough. The first expectation is to be a good coach. Essentially there are three things that we are talking about here. One is, are you listening to understand or are you listening to respond? The second one is, are you asking the right questions or are you just directing? The third one is, are you solving for them or are you helping them solve themselves or are you co-creating? So if you look at these three principles that I was speaking about, it again ties in very, very well with what we've been speaking in the morning, which is, if you're just asking to respond or listening to respond, if you're just asking, telling them and without asking them questions, or if you're solving for them, you're treating them as a resource. But if you're doing the other three that I sent, we're actually treating them as a potential, as a bundle of energy. And what really defines the fundamental premise at Google is the belief that we have that if you give people freedom, they will amaze you. And that ties in very well with what we've been hearing since morning about the potential of people.
Is all of us, let's look at ourselves and see. We are super engaged when we are planning our holidays, yeah? Virtually we'll get the family involved, we'll be there, we'll be going through net searches, which hotel, this looks a bigger room, this looks a smaller room, we're super engaged, we're looking forward to it, we're planning it, we're getting all these things done. We're almost 100% there. Now this is where you will actually go and spend money, all your hard-earned money, and we're super engaged. You come to office, which is actually paying you money, and you're not engaged. Hum to paisa de rahe to have that engagement. Fir bhi you're coming and saying, oh, what a dreary work, and then you have to come and then you have to worry about these things there. And it confounds me that where you're actually earning a quality life, earning your right to actually enjoy, there you don't come with 100%, and where you're going to blow up all that hard-earned money, you are 150% engaged. So how can I really have this whole conundrum? And it worries me, and you're right, no personal policies are going to do that. We need to create an environment where people get all of us rather than part of us. And if that is anything less than that, your human potential is hugely getting diluted. in performance. And I think this is some of the responsibilities we need to have. So policies is only one tool, and they must be validated, revisited every 3 years. But policies is just a tool. But I think it has to come from some inner call, and I think of the leaders there, to create an environment where automatically people get more. If children have to be playing next to you in 1 kilometer periphery, then create an office. Now that's a 1% of your marketing cost. And that's a 20% jump in employee engagement if 50% are women who are having smaller kids. Understand the relation there and might as well create that. And it's a sustainable investment, which will get much of people there. So I'm creating cafes and gyms. We created music, we have created yoga room, we have created meditation rooms there. Now we're creating completely different kind of an open office structure, because I want people on Monday to wake up and feel charged about going to office and engage, not because of a personal policy alone, which is obviously competitive, but because they want to. They want to be part of a story which is coming together. And that, I think, is a true engagement.
It's been, I think, such an enriching session. There's so much to take away. But I think in the context of my organization, and to actually enable the agile journey that we are on right now, I think two things that would stay with me when I go back is, one is to actually build an organization on trust. So actually go back and do away with all the rule books, rewrite policies, focus more on, allowing people to be their whole self. I think that was one great learning today. The second one was getting leaders to practice listening, asking and co-creating. Let the ideas come from anywhere. So maybe a flatter organization structure, anyone could come up with the solution. So, value a diverse organization in the true sense.
How do you make sure people understand what your culture is? And how do you know that people are doing what you think we all agreed to do?
A little note here, and this is from one of our leaders. You don't create a culture, you define values, find like-minded people who live those values, and together a culture is born. Now, as much as our culture has always been strong, as we're growing, the one thing that Google was fearful about was, how do we make sure that our culture remains strong and we're nurturing the culture, and we also nurture the culture of innovation. Right, so we recently came up with recasting our values or reiterating the values. There are three respects, as we spoke about: respect for the user, respect for the opportunity, and the third one was respect for each other. The way we treat people is a choice we make.
The values are very, very critical to act as a binding force. The values are what we value most. It is unflinching commitment. So ultimately, values also, these are commitment. You make a set of commitment to customers, you make a set of commitment to your own people, employees, associates, staff members, whatever way you will define. You make a set of commitment to your business partners, stakeholders, and societies. And you said values are not something eternal. As business is dynamic, values can be changed. Not so frequently, but from time to time if there is a need. But the value deployment is extremely essential across the organization.
Today's society has developed the attitude of use and throw, use and throw, use and throw. Everything is use and throw. Nothing should be use and throw. Because initially you will start with paper, then you will start with pen, then you will start with this, that, and then it'll come to human beings. It's come, isn't it, in the world? Has that attitude not come in the world? Use and throw of human beings. Yes? That we can even refer to human beings as collateral damage. Use and throw, isn't it?
So, what happened between 2006-07 to 2012-13? The business was going up, the industry was going up, everything was doing so well, and we kept on pumping resources into the company. The market, automotive market in India collapsed by almost 40%. Our turnover in 2012 was 56,000 crores. I'm talking about only the Indian operations. And it came down over 2 years to 34,000 crores. Huge issue in the company. We looked at what do we need to do? And then we came up with our plan, what do we want to be by 2020? So we reworked all our strategy. We had 13, 14 management levels. So we said nothing doing. We'll crash the hierarchies to just 5 management levels. In terms of organization, we said we had at that point in time, I'm talking about white collar, about 16,500 people. We needed only about 12,000 people. Huge challenge. How do you do that? So what we did is we brought a lot of jobs under shared services. We are not specialists in infrastructure and facilities management. Tied up with infrastructure facilities management suppliers, and we told them that you can take these people and we give you the business. So we transferred about 700 people to these companies. Then another one was what you call as logistics management. Another specialized area, tied up with 2 logistics companies. We said, you take these people, yeah? And we gave them guarantee of 3 years or 4 years or 5 years. But in the process, these people moved either with one of these service providers or into these shared services. But still, there were about 1,000 odd people which we needed to separate. So when I made the presentation to the board was very clear that we have to do that. There is no other alternative. So I said, look, at the cost of solving our financial issue or the economic issue, which may be short term, we may be creating long-term social issues. So then the board said that what do we do then? So I said we need more money, and we need money for a longer period of time. They said, okay, that's available. We said we will also try to look at possibly placing these people outside. So we tied up with 2 of the outplacement agencies. We were able to outplace lots of these people actually. Yeah? Even, so ultimately we had to outplace only about 300 odd, not even 1,000 people, because many of those people we were able to place in multiple other companies, even within the group. But to deal with that subject also, we trained our senior managers. Not that everybody can tell that from tomorrow, please don't come. We provided counseling help and counseling support, not just to the individual, but also to the family. So all those things were done to minimize the pain in the system, but fortunately we didn't have to do away with too many people. We were able to see that most of these people somehow got placed in other companies.
The takeaway for me is most of the management courses you go through a case study which you actually not felt, and here you are hearing from the people who have actually did it. So you start believing it. These are the concepts which work in the real time.
When you're transforming the organization, then there is a point A and there is a point B. So I need to understand the point B, because what do I transform into? So you cannot transform unless you're clear about point B. That's the first principle. In transformation, you do 3 things, in my view. First thing for a CEO or a leader to understand is who is not supporter of transformation. Who is not going to go with the flow. That's the first task. You have to do it. And it's not that people are going to stand up and say that I don't agree with you. When CEO is going to tell his vision, the first thing people will do is nod their head. That's the problem. You need to be discreet enough, instinctive enough to know, are the 10 people sitting in my team, these 5 are naysayers, silent killers. They will kill it because they're not with it. The moment we identify this, the second step, equally critical, is to neutralize them. Take them away from this process. If you keep them, it'll come to haunt you. That's my experience. Second thing is, in that small team, there will be some people who would love your transformation because they want to be part of it. Identify them and strengthen them, again, by all means necessary. Every means necessary. Empower them, reward them, give them all kind of decision making, because they are the ones who want to take your company forward. So enemies of change, neutralize them. Never let these 2 communities meet. Typically what we do is we put them in a team and say, no problem, he's a head of manufacturing, 30 years in the organization. Very important. Doesn't want too much of change, doesn't want a digital printing. But here is a young guy, why don't you 2 get together in a team and together we'll work. This togetherness kills transformation. You cannot have people who are one track looking the other way in their mind, another track looking the other way. And that's why I say it's political. Never, should be like a train ka 2 line, kabhi milni nahi chahiye. How do you transform? Where is your big idea going to come from? Organization transformation is actually human transformation. Because human transformation precedes any transformation. If humanity gets transformed, everything is a consequence of that. It doesn't precede anything.
Isha as an organization, in the last, let's say 5 years, we would have probably scaled maybe 20 times or maybe more, I don't know. Sadhguru always says that he doesn't have the luxury of having extra resources, either people or money, because if he has 10 people, if he has 1,000 rupees, he has work for 100 people and maybe 10,000 rupees or 100,000 rupees. So the work is always ahead of the resources that we have. As you saw Mahashivratri example, we could draw the support of a few thousand volunteers to come and participate and pitch in for that event. But essentially it's a core team, which is a very small group of people. So it is that small group of people who are creating a throughput. So are we looking at scaling in terms of numbers? Are we looking at scaling individual human beings that they can do things which look seemingly impossible from the outside? So the whole inner science that Sadhguru is imparting to us, this is about scaling the individual in terms of really digging deeper and deeper into ourselves through the way we live. The most significant aspect is the sadhana, the practices that we do. And are we digging deeper into one's own human potential? Are we finding expression for that? Human beings, if you make them see that they can do more than what they are, they will want to give themselves even more and want to scale themselves. That's how human beings are. And that's another way to scale up.
If you want to handle human beings, first of all, you must understand you can get the best out of this human being. There's substantial medical and scientific evidence to show this, that you get the best even in their present state, wherever they are, you get the best out of them only when they're in a pleasant state of experience. But today, unfortunately, many people believe, and even management schools are teaching, unless you are stressed and pressured, you will not produce your best. Be very stressed and try to flip a dosa, it'll fall on the ground. Be very stressed and try to drive through a challenging terrain, you will see you may not live through it. When you're relaxed, alert and in a pleasant state of experience, you can do these things absolutely effortlessly.
After going through this, I feel I should practice it the way it has been told to us, and I'm going to benefit a lot out of it. That's what I feel, and I really enjoyed it.
So considering a living being as a resource is a crime, because in this, one thing is you're destroying that human being, another thing is you have a great potential with which you're doing little. You must stop looking at human beings as a resource. They are not material. It is a dimension of life. If you nurture it right, it will blossom into something tremendous. It's in a seed form. Whether you make it into a big tree or crush it, it's up to you. But if you make it into a big tree, it will bear much fruit. Otherwise, you'll see very little.
I think we just now fold back to the tables. The resource leaders will now kind of work with you guys to arrive at your challenges and what we've learned over these 2-3 days.
Have attended, have organized, have managed hundreds of programs. But I have never come across this kind of program where it not just opens up your mind or your eyes to the world, but it opens up your heart. It's so different from any other program. I mean, I have been part of programs at some of the finest business schools in the world. In Europe, in United States, in India I have seen. But no program matches this.
I don't think any other program can give you a different kind of perspective, not even any big school in the country or even abroad. India is going to the happening country, and we don't have to go outside looking for solutions there. That's the way the program has been designed.
Enclave has been fabulous. There hasn't been a program that comes anywhere close that I've attended before. So my biggest takeaway has been a wake-up call for how much I need to work on myself. It's not just about you. Once you create that environment, you have to work in a committed way to how your team is in that state, in that awareness, in that state of well-being. Because otherwise everything they are creating is out of stress, out of anxiety. If they are not taken to a place of genuine well-being, joy, then anything they create would not be of, significant value.
What I enjoyed was the level of participation of people to all that was presented to them. And what was presented to them was very diverse perspective, not just from a traditional organization, but organizations beyond what they typically come across. And people were able to pull out some of these nuggets of wisdom out of those experiences and put it together. I was amazed that they could see, oh, this is the way I could actually apply it in my organization. So I'd love to be part of this again. I think it has got the way to energize me as a professional, as a person, with the kind of dialogue we have and so on. So it's just amazing.